Would you like to see football wherever you are in the world?
With NordVPN, you can get premium protection online and set your location so you never miss a minute of the content you usually enjoy.
Go to nordvpn.com/TSUW to get 72% off a 2-year plan plus 3 additional months absolutely free.
Welcome to the Sheffield United Way. My name is Hal. You'll shortly be seeing the face of Nick and then a whole load of other people. We are delighted to once again be doing a fans forum. And you might think, Slav in, Slav out, what on earth are you talking about? We are so early in the season. Well, I'll let you into a little secret. Nick and I recently did some videos, as we do every week on this channel. And we were surprised, and may I say personally, a little disappointed that so many people, overwhelming a number of people, wanted 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝𝐸 out of a job. So we are merely a conduit for the people. We are giving you an opportunity to have a say and to have your voice heard. That is what this channel's about. It is all about you, the fans. So therefore, we felt we needed to do something like this. Let's hear both sides. The people that want Slav out already want Slav out long before we decided to do this video a couple of days ago. So maybe some opinions can be changed, or maybe they'll change other opinions. Let's find out. I'd like to bring in Nick at this juncture. Nick, most important question of the night. How are you, sir?
I'm very, very well. How are you?
You know me, I'm nervous.
Yes, you very much are, aren't you? We've spoke about this off air, and we need to give our opinion first. Are you Slav in? Are you Slav out?
I'm 100% Slav in. I can't even believe we're having the question. Quite frankly, I'm quite embarrassed. I think that it's so early. The things that he's achieved in the past, we've already seen what he can do. I mean, the man has a track record. Who else better is there out there? You also can't just keep chopping and changing managers. Sometimes you've got to look at other factors. And I think there are a lot of other factors to the reason that Sheffield United have been poor. But don't let me dissuade anyone else from their opinion. This isn't about me. Nick, what's your thoughts?
Absolutely Slav in, but at the same time, I can understand why some people are kind of leaning towards the out. But we're going to get onto it. There's a lot of things to talk about. And I think the thing is, we are doing this Slav in, Slav out thing, but I think a lot of people who are Slav out may actually be Slav in for a little bit more and then out. So, yeah, we've got a lot of things to get through in this video, haven't we, mate?
Yeah, should we bring the first guest in? I'm actually going to welcome Sam as our very first guest for today and just see what Sam's actually got to say about proceedings. Sam, it's great to have you on the channel. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I hope you two are very good as well.
Very, very good, and even better for seeing that shirt on your back, that beautiful green shirt.
It's a rare one. Not many people remember it.
Oh, I do. It was at the same time as the navy and purple one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the one with the sash. I believe it's behind me there. Yeah, that one.
That's the one.
Yeah, I think that was the third shirt for that season, and then that was actually the away shirt for the season before, obviously with the Premier League shirt behind me.
Oh, better times, better times. We're not in the top flight at the moment. We are scraping around near the wrong end of the championship. So, Sam, big question. Are you Slav in or Slav out?
I'm Slav in. Genuinely, I think, look, we got into a rut a few years ago of having a new manager every week, and he didn't get us anywhere until, obviously, Wilder came along and helped us out. I think, was it something like 6 years and 6 managers? It was, it got a bit silly. So I'm certainly, I don't think we should be changing yet. Firstly, because look, at the end of the day, the squad's not his. It's not his squad. There's one or two lone players in there that are his signings. And then also, you've got this idea of who do we replace him with? I don't think there's any manager around that's currently jobless that would come in and get much else out of this squad. So I'm firmly Slav in. I'm happy to elaborate.
Yeah. What are you thinking about the formation and kind of playing players out of position?
I'm not unsure. I think that maybe we should go to a back three. I think that's where, to be honest, the most of our problems are coming from. Defensively, we look quite poor. We're creating lots of chances going forward. It's just towards the end of matches and during matches, we tend to be quite porous as a defence. I think the back four doesn't really suit the players we have, particularly the left and right backs that are playing as left and right backs, standard, full backs. When in reality they've played wing back for the last 5 years, and even you've got people like John Egan, who's notoriously not great in a back four. Although obviously these defenders should have.
Oh, Sam, has he frozen for you as well, Nick?
Yeah, he was making a great point as well.
Played in a back.
He's
Are we all good?
yeah, we're all good. You frightened us there, Sam. You need to have a quick chat with your BT subscriber.
Yeah, everything went a bit black then. Apologies. Where was I?
You were talking for me. You were talking about the wing backs.
Yes.
And, the fact that they've been playing wing backs for a long, long time and not in a back four.
See, so they're getting forward when in reality they could. That is what's catching us out. I think, especially the goals that we conceded against Blackpool and Blackburn were both, I think, symptomatic of that. In that the wing backs found themselves, well, not wing backs, but the full backs found themselves too far forward, which meant defensively they couldn't then run back. If that makes sense. That's, I think, one poor thing about the defence, and that's maybe why we should go to a back three. John Egan as well, generally, I think, has been mentioned by... where did he come from? Brentford, that's it. Brentford fans mentioned that he was pretty poor in a back four, so I feel like a back three might suit him a bit more. In terms of going forward, I don't think we've got too many issues. I feel like... we could do with proper wingers, but I feel like for the time being, Osborne and Njai and 𝐍𝐸𝐶 or whoever we play in the right wing position, it seems to change every week, are doing okay at the minute. It's just a case of we will need to, I think, get proper wingers in for the future. But generally, I think it's going to take maybe 2 to 3 transfer windows before we're up and battling. For me, that's how I see it anyway. All
right, Sam, your internet we will persevere with for a moment, but it may let you down. Let's bring in Mark at the same time. Mark, absolute pleasure to finally get you on our channel. How are you, sir?
Evening all. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm actually playing myself at 8 o'clock, so I'm just going to give my point of view and then dive into this big forest area where I live.
Well, we wish you well with your, I presume, five-a-side.
There's just my point with SLAV, and I've seen United the majority of matches this season, especially Barnsley. Some of his tactics I've got to question. Now, other fans may disagree, but to me, the play's too slow and not progressive enough. So when we get into decent positions, instead of crossing it and putting their defence under pressure and then picking pieces up in and around the box where we were brilliant at it under Wilder, they cut back in. And Ben Osborne is an absolute classic of that. You can see that at Bramall Lane and in most away matches where the opportunity is to get it in between the keeper and the centre-backs, but they cut back in and rotate the ball again. To me, you just put yourself under so much pressure and the ability to lose the ball in key areas, and that's where it's going wrong, in my opinion.
Do you think that that's a prime example of square pegs in round holes? Because we all know that Ozzy is not a left-sided attacking midfielder.
Yes, at Forest, he was more a left-back, left defensive midfielder. He's been asked to play out of position, you could argue. But then Edna, when he goes forward, like your previous commentator said, he's left desperately short when the ball gets whipped over and then their right winger's in. So do you play a 5 and try and get back to stopping them scoring and at least be solid? Because at minute we look like a colander, both home and away.
Yeah, it is concerning. It's not the start that we expected. Absolutely. So are you saying then you are firmly at the moment, Mark, SLAV out?
No, I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I think as it stands, it would be a disaster for the club to sack a manager on a £4 million a year contract, allegedly, because then you've all these backroom staff, the Spanish coaches, wherever they're from. You're looking at a possible £10 million payout, and the clubs simply haven't got the money at the minute. I would rather him get to January, try and get these 2 wingers in, because if he plays 4 at the back, you predominantly play with 2 wingers. If you play 5 at the back, your fullbacks push on, and it's a different style of play. At the minute, his 4 is not working whatsoever. And there's endless arguments about Norwood and Fleck and Supply and Brewster on right wing, Brewster on left wing. But at the minute, he needs to look at his tactics so we don't get beat, because we do look like getting beat every time I see him. Even Barnsley nearly beat us, and we should have been 5-0 up.
Yeah, I'd like to bring Sam. Yeah, I'd like to bring Sam in for a second and just ask Sam, do you think that is stubbornness on Slav's part, and do you think he does suffer a bit of that sort of stubbornness?
I think certainly to a certain extent he definitely does. I think that he doesn't. He knows he wants to play a back 4, and I feel like no matter what anyone says, he seems to be pretty set on that. If that makes sense, he doesn't. He mentions it in interviews how there's a lot of debate over what formation I should be playing. I will stick with the back 4. I think there is definitely a stubbornness there, and I feel like he feels like he's earned the right in his career to stick to his guns and go with what he thinks, which is fair enough. But I think in the face of the way that we are playing now and the players he's got, I think he does need to be less stubborn. I feel like that was one of the big issues with Wilder, was his stubbornness. So I don't want that to be sort of like history repeating itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can certainly see there's a lot of good points coming in. Do check out the comments as they come through as well. Sam, we will leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening, because there's so many people that want to have their say, but we really appreciate it. Thank you again for popping in.
Thank you for having me on.
Well,
Cheers,
I'm
Sam.
sure it won't be the last time. Cheers, Sam. Mark, let's go. No, definitely not. Let's go back to you then, Mark. So what would you actually like to see happen in January? Are you saying the priority is...
I think the priority is get these wide men that he's looking for, because when United are in possession, it's too slow, and the players like Norwood they haven't got the legs anymore. So what he's looking for distribution to wings, and you can see that at Bramall Lane. And I saw it at Forest as well. He's looking to knock that ball into the wing areas to try and get United on front foot. But because there's no option, he's rotating ball sideways and backwards. And by the time the ball gets played out, it's broken down. And Forest are in possession again. You need that pace in team, which sadly we lack, and that little bit of quality to get us in that final third. Undai is not a winger. He's more of a sit behind your centre forward creator. You need that right-hand sided, like an old Colin Morris for people that remember him, or Alan Woodward. That type of player opens up defences. That's what we need desperately. Spot
on. Mark, we will let you go and enjoy your football this evening. Thanks for being a part of the programme.
Not a problem, and thank you for asking me.
Cheers, buddy. Cheers, and Carly is going to join us now. And Carly, great to see you. And you've got some strong opinions that you've shared with me already on Twitter, and we really appreciate those. So first question, are you Slav in or Slav out?
Absolutely in. I really don't think, when he was appointed, I was absolutely over the moon, like I'm sure many, many Sheffield United fans were. I genuinely don't think there's anybody out there that we could have got. And I still think that that's the case now. I think there's a lot of fans, and I get it with the situation with Wilder. We achieved some of his best years as a club. However, I think a lot of fans are measuring it up against when Wilder was in charge, and almost holding on to that. And I think we need to move on. We need to move forward as a club, and get behind him. I don't think it's had enough time to be judged. You know, he's had one transfer window. We all know what happened with that. It was last minute, bringing people in. We don't know how well backed he was. You know, there were obviously a couple of signings that we were expecting that at the last minute they fell through. I do agree with people saying about him being stubborn, but obviously on his record, he's obviously trying to play with what he knows works and what's been successful in the past. And he's obviously seen something in training, I believe, to believe that this can work in some way.
Yeah. Do you think that we have the players to play SLAV's system? And if you do, who do you think fits a SLAV system and who doesn't?
I'm not so sure about that. I think there's quite a few players within the team that, you know, have been absolute heroes at the lane. You know, your Stevens, your Baldock, your Norwood, your Flex. And I think that moving forward, I'd hate for them to end up leaving the club as villains when they've been absolute heroes. So I do think that to enable that system to be played that he wants to, he needs backing. And I think I can't imagine him coming into this club without having those reassurances that he's going to be able to get to some degree what he wants, because I don't think it's a job that he'd have taken on otherwise.
I think that's a really interesting point. And we've got Adam joining us as well. You've heard what Carly's had to say, Adam. So the question for you is, are you Slav in or Slav out?
Slav out.
Ooh.
And I'll tell you why. So he's not blooded the youngsters. It looked at the start of the season like he was going to. He's not put them in. He's inherited a team. So how much are we going to back him in January? How much money is he going to have? Is he going to have the opportunity to bring that players in? Let's not forget, we're a relegated club that spent an awful lot of money in 2 seasons in the Premier League. So are we going to have financial backing? He's got to work with what he's got, and he's playing players out of position. He's playing a formation that doesn't work, and it's a stubbornness to change that. And everyone said he's stubborn, even whether you're in or out, but he's not making the changes that are needed. You're playing 2 full-backs. They're both wing-backs. They can't defend. Basham at the weekend, as much as we love Chris Basham, he goes forward and he looks lost and he suddenly realises, oh no, I can't do that anymore. That's not my role. I've got to get back and I've got to defend. You've got Brewster playing out wide. I mean, it's just so many players out of position, and you're not going to get results doing that. So if we give him to January and he wants to mould the team his way in January and he can get the players he wants in, fine. But as a manager with his reputation, he should recognise what we've got before it's too late, because 7 points off the playoffs, also 7 points off the relegation, and we've got to be very, very careful we don't get dragged further down.
I think that's a really good point, Adam, because you kind of Neil Warnock or Chris Wilder, these managers would come in, they would look at the players that they got at their disposal and think, how am I going to get us moving in the right direction? And my only worry with Slav out is the fact that would we be able to afford to get rid of him? And then how is that going to impact on the next manager being able to actually spend a little bit of money or bring in players on higher wages? Because obviously we need better quality.
So looking at the squad that we've got, this squad is more than capable of putting up a promotion challenge. They're good championship players. You know, you look at the successful Sheffield United managers of the past, Bassett, Warnock, Wilder, they've got more out of the players than probably what their ability is. No disrespect. We look back, this season mirrors 2007 when Brian Robson was in charge, and named managers who on track record should do well have historically not done well at Sheffield United. You need someone who lives and breathes the club and someone from within. And I said before Slav was appointed, someone like Brian Dean, I'm not saying he's the right man at this moment in time, but someone who knows the club and the fans will give a lot of time and got the understanding and understands what it is to pull on that red and white shirt. Because Slav does not inspire me in his interviews. He sends me to sleep. If I was one of his players, I don't know whether they understand him. I just for me, you've got to change before it's too late. This season is effectively pretty much gone already.
7 points off the playoffs, Adam.
7 points off relegation, Hal.
Yeah, it's how you look at it, though, isn't it? And I'm always
18th.
I know it's not what we expected. I'm glass half full. You know, I always am. That's why I'm always thirsty. Carly, you have heard what Adam's had to say. Has anything changed in your mind?
No. I do agree with what Adam's saying about the young. I'd like to see more of the youth coming through. But no, because to be honest, I really didn't think that we'd automatically bounce back. I think the way we came down, how the squad has just been completely, like, the confidence and everything must have just been absolutely shattered to bits. And I always thought without a rebuild, I think, to be honest, going back to when Wilder left, I think he left us in not a great position. You know, yeah, he did a brilliant job, but I think he left us in the, you know, and I think it were always going to be a process. When he left, a rebuilding process. And I think
Carly,
that needs...
sorry, I just want to know who out of the players that got relegated last season, who can they still do it? Can Norwood still do it? Can Fleck still do it? Because we can see they're not performing at the moment, and it does seem like they've got this losing mentality. Do you think that we can get the old Norwood, the old Fleck, the old McGoldrick, all these players that haven't really performed this season? Or does it need a complete rebuild?
I would say more towards a rebuild. I think I have maybe a bit more confidence in the back, you know, in the defence, that could be salvaged more so than the midfield. The midfield really are lacking this season. Adam, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, the midfield's lacking, but it's got to go back to the old formation at the back. You cannot concede. I think it's 9 league games this season. We've conceded 2 goals, and we've all criticised our front line. We don't score goals. Okay, we had 6 against Peterborough and a couple of 3s, but we're not a team who's going to win games 3-2, 4-2. You know, the amount of leads that we're blowing. I mean, the amount of late goals that we conceded. I mean, Olsen looks shaky, and I see a Kanovich signing. It seems to be Gibbs-White has been a success. Can't fault him for that. But you give the ball to Gibbs-White. If you snuff Morgan Gibbs-White out of the game, Sheffield United struggle. End of story.
What about the fact, Adam, that he's left Iliman Ndiaye out? Has that been something that you would have said is a bit of a surprise, given that Ndiaye has been one of the most exciting and creative players?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a surprise. And the amount of youngsters that have been shipped out on loan is a real surprise. We've seen in the Carabao Cup, they've come in, they've done a job, they've played well. For me, I don't understand. You've got Ryan Brewster, who's a centre-forward who scores goals. You're going to criticise him for not scoring goals when he's out on the wing or he's not even in the Matchday squad. You know, we paid a lot of money for him. He needs a run in the side. You know, I know he's got an abundance of strikers, and Billy Sharp's exceeded expectations this season, don't get me wrong. But we need 2 up front. Ollie McBurney will be a great asset. McBurney and Brewster, between them, I said at the start of the year, if they played every week, they'd get 40 goals between them. And I still stand by that.
Maybe they're just not suited to Sheffield United. I mean, Nick said it before. Sheffield United look to sell both of them, and they go and bag loads of goals for rivals. It just, you can see it happening.
It's how much we get for them. You say, can we afford to get rid of SLAV, and how much will this payoff be? What about the losses we're taking on these players? What's happening with all these players that are out of contract in summer? We've not heard anything about anybody having extensions. So they're going to just disappear on freeze. Are we going to have, you know, Chris Wilder is gone. He's moved on. We move on from the Wilder days. But he's going to take 2 or 3 of the best players to Middlesbrough in January. You can guarantee that.
No, there's no chance. There's no chance of that. Absolutely not. The board wouldn't even allow it. I mean, just imagine.
Well, we'll wait and see. But something has to change. SLAV needs to. I mean, I want to give him a chance. I wanted to give him a chance. First 5-6 games, find your feet. But we're 17 games into this season. We're just over a point a game, and there's no sign of anything changing. That's the worry inside.
Final one for you, Carly, then we'll let you go. So it's a 46-game season. Adam's making 17 sound like it's a lot, but it is still very early on in the season. Carly, do you have any hope, any expectation that Sheffield United will do what Fulham did? Admittedly, that was the second season, but Fulham were in a very similar position to Sheffield United when they ended up finishing third and winning in the playoffs. Do you have any hope that Slav could turn it around with this squad?
I don't think we'll make playoffs this season. I think we'll certainly finish a lot higher than we are now. I have that hope. But I definitely think it's going to take some time. Give him a couple of transfer windows, use this season as a transition, and let's see what he can do.
Carly, thank you so much for joining us. We've really appreciated you giving up your evening to speak to us on Slav In or Slav Out. It is very, very kind of you. And hopefully this won't be the final time that we welcome Carly to the programme. Drew is back. We've spoken to Drew previously in a fans forum. Drew, good to see you.
Good to see you too, guys. How's everyone doing good?
Good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Thank you, mate. So we've talked about a lot of things tonight. Are you Slav In or Slav Out, first of all?
Well, currently I am Slav In, but I'm very, very... I can see the arguments for both. And to be fair, Adam made some very good points there. I disagree with a couple of them, but I do understand.
Let's hear what you disagree with.
Well, what did you disagree with?
I'm going
to
massively disagree on the McBurney show. Now, obviously... I watch him for Scotland, obviously, my country. Useless for them. I was a backer for him for a very, very long time. My other pals from Scotland, they go like, yeah, he's useless. And I was like, no, it's all, we need to give him a bit of time. He needs a service and things like that. And to be fair, every goal he scored in the Premier League was pretty big. The draw against Man United, win against Brighton, win against West Ham. Obviously the Leicester goals, we still lost the game, but we were competitive. So, but then they said on commentary, I think it was against, I don't know if it was, it might have been on commentary, but I heard he scored 8 goals in 76 appearances or something like that for Sheffield United. And then you've just got to think if, where are these goals coming from? Because every time he's been on the pitch, I know he's had injuries this season, but he just does not look like he's going to score. Brewster, I've got a little bit more hope with, but I think I'm just officially done with McBurney. I've had a good time of backing him, but I've got to just kind of cut him loose now. And there was rumours that Wolves, rumours, but Wolves were looking at him for 10, 15 million. I'd bite your hand off. I'd just go, yeah, cool, take it. But I don't know if that's, again, the validity of that one anyway. Sorry, I had to get the McBurney thing off my chest quickly, but yeah. So, I'll go.
Adam, would you like to counter that?
Yeah, I say McBurney and Brewster together as a two. McBurney playing as on his own up front isn't going to work. You need somebody to work with. He's been successful scoring goals as part of two up front. I think he's got the physicality for this league, and he needs a run in the side. I know we're going to butt heads on this, Nick. I know you're not McBurney's biggest fan at all.
He's like a Twiggler. He's not got strength.
Yeah, but McBurney's not Nick's fan either.
You can look at all the stats there. You say 8 in 76. You've got to look at the minutes he's played, who he's played against, the games. Nobody really scored anything in the Premier League. You can write 30 games off last season for, stats don't always tell the truth. But at this level, at Championship level, he's got a proven record. As has Billy Sharp, as has Brewster for the half season he had at Swansea. So we've got goals in the team. We do have that. It's just something that I personally would like to see. He's not really had 6, 7, 8 games in the team with a run with Brewster alongside him, and that's something that, my personal opinion, I'd like to see us explore, because I think that'd be fruitful for Sheffield United. 5 at the back, 2 up front.
Interesting, as always. Adam, we're going to let you disappear. Thank you very much for joining us.
No problem. Cheers, lads.
Thanks,
Adam, always popular, actually. Lots of comments backing Adam. Just so many sort of people out there that agree with Adam, which is always interesting to see. Will they agree with Jack? That is the next big question. Jack, cheers for joining. You all right, mate?
I'm all right, thank you. Nice to meet you. Unfortunately, you're not going to be on my team. I'm Team Adam, and I am Slav Out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
I know, I'm sorry.
Tell us why, Jack.
Well, if you look back over unfortunately, it's Chris Wilder days. If you look back, what we've built at 3 at the back, we can call it 5 at the back. I think it's worked really well. And I refuse to believe that them players aren't good enough to get us back promoted at all. I think they've got good quality in this side still.
Can I just stroke my chin and say, do you know what? When you look at it, I struggle so much when I think about how this team finished. I know people keep banging on about it. Finished 9th 2 years ago in the Premier League. We've heard it a million times. but it is still the core of the same squad. And I am really still scratching my head and saying, surely there's a manager that can get a tune out of these players because it's been done before.
Honestly, I'm in the exact same boat. Like, I think Norwood, Fleck, I think Baldock, Egan, even with the signs we've made.
I've never heard it said like that before, mate. I've got to be honest. Egan. Oh, probably before I'm from. I'm living on Nottinghamshire these days, unfortunately. But yeah, no, you're right, because I'm Slavin, and I'm going to nail my colours to the mast. But I do remember when Howard Kendall came in after a legend in Dave Bassett and completely and almost instantly transformed a team that was going only one way. And if Twitter had been around when Dave Bassett was on his way out, it would have been a very toxic place. So I can see what you are saying, and I think it's always important to listen to balanced views on both sides. But I don't want to leave Drew ignored here. So Drew, you've heard the thoughts of Jack. What do you think of those thoughts?
To be honest, I think it's difficult. It's difficult to like sum up at the moment because again, I want to believe that those players are still there deep down. Like I really do, but I just think at the moment we can call it confidence or whatever, but I mean, you know, the buzzword is 18 months. It's more, you know, we're coming up to 20 months now where they've not been performing. And at the end of the day, a job's a job and they need to get it done. And I just don't, I think they are just at the stage now where they, again, like you said, there's only one way down, one way to go now, and that's them down. They're deteriorating. They're not at the level. Fleck especially, it pains me to say it. Like Norwood, obviously there's still something there. I know there was a bit of, like grumbles with Norwood at the start of the season and stuff, and people saying he's not performing great, but I still think he's got something to offer. But some of the players like Fleck and again Baldock and Stevens, they just look completely gone. And I just don't think they're coming back anytime soon, especially again, like you said, you know, burning a couple of the strikers. They do try, but we just look so flimsy in that middle park in defence, and that's something Sheffield United never been. We've never been a pushover team, and we're now there. We're now that pushover team where people can kind of bramble in, pick up 3 points. So as much as it pains me to say, like we have to kind of sometimes leave loyalty at the door at the side and just call a spade, and they've really, really struggled. I just don't think there's any way back for them. So
Drew, so who goes then? Who would you get out of the door first thing if you could?
How long's a piece of string? So there's about 7 or 8 of them I think that need to go, unfortunately. Like I said, Bernie I think needs to go if we can get some money for him. I think I still have hope for Baldock. I know he struggled, but I've still got hope for him. I'd say Stevens. I'd say obviously people like Jack Robinson. Obviously that's a given. I think he's still at the club. I generally don't even know if he's still there, to be honest.
Whoa! I'm a big fan.
So Fleck needs to go, I think. But again, just who's going to come in and buy these guys? That's the issue we've got now. I think
maybe I'm stuck in the dark ages with all my favourite players, and I don't want to admit that their time's up. Definitely. I refuse to believe it, unfortunately.
But I like that, Jack. I respect that.
I don't think our expectations should drop so much for a team that's just been relegated from the Premier League. I think the right manager. I think it was actually bad recruiting. I think we got SLAV based on his CV, which unfortunately. Great CV, great manager, but looking at this players and the squad we have, I don't think that was the right choice.
All right, Jack, I've got a question for you. If the owner, who takes a lot of flack, and Nick and I have absolutely no dog in that fight and no dog in the race, as the nicest saying, because we did an interview with the Prince and people seem to think that we're best buddies. That is not the case at all. We will interview anyone, and we're not best buddies with Dean Hammond either. So the point is that he appointed the manager that the fans wanted, the most expensive manager that Sheffield United could realistically have attracted. Now, if he had appointed Paul Heckingbottom, I think at the time he'd have received a lot of flack. Now, Blades fans are saying if we'd given it Hecky after the great results he got against some pretty good teams in the Premier League, we'd be, doing much better. Where do you stand on that?
I'd love to, hindsight's a great thing, innit? After all, I saw one of the comments actually, and someone said if it was Hecky and Monty, someone with some core from Sheffield United, that would have been a great partnership. And yeah, hindsight, maybe it would have been a great thing, but I also were interested in getting Slaven at the same time. I'm not the worst person for opinions as well. My opinion's loose; it changes every week, so it's not great. But don't get me wrong. Right now, looking at it, Hecky playing a system, and I think go back to what you said a minute ago, confidence. I think the team just needed remotivating more than anything. It didn't need a drastic change in terms of tactics. It just needed motivating, playing what we know, bringing 1 or 2, 3 changes just to, depth in certain areas. And I think that would have been enough because we have just been promoted from the best league in the world. Do you know what I mean?
So going back to formation changes, because we all saw at the beginning of the season, we tinkered with it. It was either going to be a 3-5-2 or the formation that we've gone for now, or even a 4-3-3 at one point. We were playing like McGoldrick wide and Brewster wide. And do we think that the 3-5-2 can still work? And because we really saw it, me and Hal went to the Luton game where we couldn't create anything until we went 4 at the back, but then we got caught on the break. Are we still that team? Are we going to get caught on the break with 4 at the back like we have been? Or is it better to shore it up and kind of concede the fact that we're not going to create as many chances?
I think our manager's not Thomas Tuchel, but he's playing 3 at the back, and they're a very good side. So I don't want to push away 3 at the back as a formation, isn't it? That isn't a formation that can't create chances. Because playing the right way, you can do it. With the right signings, you can do it. Yeah, you're probably right. If it was the exact same team that came down, probably would look a bit flat, probably look a bit desperate in certain areas, and we probably would need legs. But we've had money from Ramsdale. We could have played the same shape. Players know how to do it. Let's just reinvest and stick to what we know, and just giving a freshen up into the midfield, like we've mentioned. I think we've got plenty of depth in strike, midfield, full-backs, and obviously Jack O'Connell, which I don't want to talk about tonight.
I'll just start crying. All right, final question for both of you. Drew, we'll go with you first. It's something that we've seen a lot on Twitter. Are Sheffield United fans entitled? And is it the fact that we think, we should be up there? We're Sheffield United. We're my team, not massive, Nick.
I don't know. That's a really good question, to be honest. I think, I don't know. I'd maybe say no. In fact, no. I agree with that. We're entitled. We're football fans. We're fickle at the end of the day. We want our club to do well, right? And we're in the Championship. I think we all had a look at the Championship this season and went, "Yeah, we're gonna do really well this season." So I think, yeah. I mean, to be honest, we should be up there, and we've all kind of said that, rightly so. We should have been up there. West Brom have got a new manager and they hit the ground running. Parker at Bournemouth has hit the ground running. So why couldn't we hit the ground running? And we've just been really, really disappointing. But I didn't think, being honest, I didn't think we were going to be in the playoff spots this season. I thought top 10 would have been a success for us. And I don't want to sound like I'm being dour, but I think as long as we were in the top 10, we could then build on something with windows. But I think just because we're not even in, I know 7 points are 7 points, but I just think everyone's just shocked. Going, how are we this bad? What I mean? How are we not even in the conversation and we're not even at Christmas? You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that's why everyone's kind of just went just lost their mind at the moment. But yeah, I don't know if we'd say we're entitled. I think there's a lot of the clubs that were worse than us and stuff. But no, I wouldn't say we're entitled. Not just yet, anyway. So.
Thanks, Drew. We'll let you disappear for the rest of your evening. Jack,
nice.
Are we entitled?
If I'm going to get off in a sec, so I'll probably say, yeah, we fully are entitled. We should win in the
league. Jack, I've got to say, you've got a lot of love in the comments. I'm not surprised about that. You speak from the heart. And whilst I don't agree, Slav out, I do like your passion. I really respect it and admire it.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Top man, Jack. I'm sure we'll have Jack back on the channel in the future. Nick, let's take a breath. Let's just pause, gather our thoughts, because it's been tough so far to listen to some very different opinions. What have you made of it?
I've really enjoyed it. I feel like my opinion, everybody is going to agree with. That's the sort of person that I am. I really do, because I think I know everything. But it's great to hear so many different opinions about so many different, because it's not just Slav in, Slav out. There's so much detail to go into.
Yeah, there really is. I love getting the opinions of people that have, of course, experienced United through the ages, through different times. I don't like being the oldest person on the stream. And completely unrelated, let's welcome Pompey to the channel. How you doing, you salty sea dog? Pompey, I'm going to unmute you.
Let me take him off.
Go on. I'm sure what he's saying is how your beard is absolutely magnificent. Pompey, can you just unmute
He needs
yourself?
to do himself. Pompey, you just need to unmute yourself, mate. At the bottom.
You know, we've been doing these Zoom calls since, what, 18 months now?
Sorry.
There he is. He's in.
Do forgive me. Do forgive me. I'm back in the room. It's great to see you both, and both keeping a smile on your faces while things are going not particularly well on the football pitch. But here we are. You know,
you should have watched my reaction. There certainly wasn't a smile on my face for that one.
I did. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. A little bit like my write-up on S24SU. It wasn't particularly a pleasant experience. But there you go. You know, it is Sheffield United, isn't it? That's where we are.
Yeah, that's where we are. And where are you? Slav in or Slav out?
Well, I'm Slav in, and it was, you know, it's been a fantastic debate so far. We're 40 minutes in, and I was expecting a complete raft of Slav ins, and then in wades Adam and completely sets the cat amongst the pigeons. I mean, so much support coming in for him saying, "I agree with Adam. He's speaking from the heart," and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's why this is the conversation that's happening in pubs and clubs all around Sheffield and really all around the country where there's red and white shirts being worn. And even in Fulham, I suppose, Fulham and Watford, are people saying, oh, he's not doing very well. He'll get sacked soon. I don't think he should be sacked. I think we're not in David Weir territory, are we? You know, where were we then? 12 games in and we got beaten by Hartlepool in the cup and he was going, he was out the door. You know, we're nowhere near that at the moment. What we've got with him, with Slav, is we've got a team that is effectively broken. I honestly think we were found out a long time before Wilder went. From the second minute in, actually, against Wolves, we were found out. And I think it's just been a slow, sad decline. The talent really has started to bleed away badly. The self-belief, the confidence on the pitch. You know, watching players like Enda Stevens, who used to be a legend at Bramall Lane, now putting in a really, really poor, desperate performance. And Norwood and Fleck, you know, everybody goes on about that, including me. They're not even a shadow of the players they used to be. Same with Egan. This is a broken side, which Slav is doing his very best to bring back. You know, and he's playing them in an unfamiliar formation. They don't like it. They clearly don't like playing in that 4-2-3-1. There's only a couple of players that do like playing in, and that's our little superstars, Gibbs, White, and Ndai, and that's it. You know that. Basham seems to make the best of a bad job, really, doing his kind of let's stroll up the pitch. But to be honest with you, I mean, it's a pretty desperate situation. I don't think this is going to be cleared for a couple of seasons. We've got to get some transfers in. We've got to get ship some players out. We've got to change the whole formation, the whole complexion of the side, and get us back playing some kind of system that's going to suit Slav and it's going to suit the players out on the pitch. We're in a transitionary phase here, and I think getting rid of the manager, you know, one who's got a bit of a pedigree, as you said, Hal, you know, he did actually turn things around for Fulham, and he did actually get them up into the playoffs, and he did actually get them into the Premiership. I think, you know, knee-jerk reactions like this and getting rid of him, it's Adam, bless him, Statman Adam, brilliant sort of case for the counter there. Absolutely superb, well put. You know, but there was so much that there was not a concrete evidence for, you know, yet. Don't get me wrong. If we get relegated, I think he's going to have to question his position, obviously. But I don't think there's anybody to come in. I mean, let's listen to the names. You know, Wilder, Warnock. Get Wilder back. Goodness me, no. Get Warnock in. No. I like Neil Warnock, but no.
I'm so shocked people are actually talking about Warnock.
Well, it's not the future, is it?
Yeah, Allardyce. I mean, God, you know, no. I think he's the right guy for the job. You know, it's just getting the players to fit Slav's system. You know, it's just that we are where we are. You know.
Well, a lot of people are saying we wouldn't be able to afford to sack him. I think some of the discussion is not about sacking him; it's whether he would walk because he might feel that he's not been sold the entire truth. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's what people have been suggesting, that perhaps he was promised additions and perhaps some of the players brought in weren't Slav's choices. We've heard those rumours. We don't know any more than viewers here on those sorts of subjects.
I agree, and but the problem is, you know, he's got a basket full of players at the moment. 110 million pounds worth of players, so I'm led to believe, considerably less on paper. which is, I think, we've talked actually earlier on about people like Jebison going out and other youth players not getting a chance. But I think the instruction from above is, you will play these players that we've paid a lot of money for. I want to see them out on the pitch. I want to see them delivering. Anybody who's a managing director of a company and buys in a heavy piece of machinery wants to see it being used. They don't want to see it sat in a garage somewhere, just getting rusty. And that's the case with like the likes of McBurney. McBurney gets a lot of stick, and I think he's, in some cases it's justified. But there's a player in there. There is a player. Same with Mousset. And really, we've got 110 million pounds worth that we've got to use or bruise, basically. And that's, they're slowly but surely going rusty while we're playing at the same kind of crappy, rubbish formation on board the pitch, on the pitch itself. I didn't know if I was allowed to use that word, but yeah, I'll
to be honest, you swore last time you were on, so it doesn't really matter.
I know, do forgive me. Yeah, but anyway, some kind of rubbish formation that is clearly not working, and it's not delivering the results. I feel that maybe a few tweaks. We do need to look at this Guardiola, whatever his name is. I haven't seen a great deal of him. We do need to look at if we can actually utilise Hurrihan in a useful position, or is he just another Norwood with another number on his shirt? We need to change that round, and there needs to be other tweaks as well. Let's give Norrington Davis another go at left back, and if not, let's go back to 3 at the back, because clearly Egan's really happy to play that. Basham would be happy to play that, and let's see if we can actually make it work. I'd love to see Lapata come in, and see if we can get some kind of development from him. He's a big old unit, and he looks like he's purposeful. We may have got a Jack O'Connell on our hands here. So let's, Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's what's needed at the back. We've got Egan who can. He can defend, not very well recently, but we've got someone like Lapata who looks like he can be an enforcer at the back. Chris Morgan, who takes no rubbish from anybody, and I think minor tweaks. I can't see us getting relegated. He says now in November.
Why would you even say that?
But I can see. I share Carly's point of view. Really, we will progress up the table. I hope. We just got to get a string of good luck behind us, and to stop giving leads away. Goodness me, I mean that is so criminal. I watched it the other night. When Brewster smashed it into the net, I thought, this is only going to go one way. We're not going to smash Blackburn out of the park. All the Blackburn fans must have been thinking to themselves, when Brewster hit the back of the net, they must have been thinking, this is another 7-0. Whilst all the Blades fans at the other end must have been thinking, this ain't going to last long. So we've got to get some confidence in ourselves and get some self-belief and move up the table. Sorry.
Well said. Well said, Pompey. Pompey, we're going to have to let you go because we're running out of time, and there's loads of other people want to have their say.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Take care.
Really appreciate it. Thank you, Pompey. Pompey. Blades. Let's get Kieran in and get Kieran's thoughts on Kieran. First of all, Slav in or Slav out, my friend?
I'm Slav out.
Ooh, has anything you've heard tonight changed your mind?
I do see both sides of it, and I'm not going to be one of these. I'm not going to be stood up on Cop at Lane on against Coventry, chanting for his head and any of this, because I don't think that helps anyone. But just I've noted a couple of things to go through, and I think both sides have got very good arguments, and I can see both sides, and I just think the last week or so, going Blackpool, Forest, and Blackburn have just tipped it over the edge for me. And again, I'm a bit of an hypocrite because 2 weeks ago I was saying game time, and I'm not, because I just can't see it working, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're all football fans, aren't we? We're all hypocrites from time to time. So you said you wrote down a few things from what you've heard. Just take the floor, mate.
Yeah, so just a few things I noted down before. Jokanovic himself, this is not my words, this is his. He says it's the best squad he ever inherited, yet we're sat 18th in the division. I think a big argument for the Slavins is, well, look at his track record, look at what he's done before. The Southampton and Scunthorpe fans would have said exactly the same about Adkins 20 games in. Look how that ended up. So I don't think you can just necessarily go off previous managers, previous clubs, because look how that happened. He got Scunthorpe.
They are different humans, though. So I will.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, it is a good point.
Yeah. I don't think we've progressed at all from game one. If anything, I think we've got worse. The style of play, for me, it's tedious, it's boring. I feel like the fans have not been overly brilliant this year. I know we've travelled in numbers, but I think the atmosphere at the Lane has been quite poor, to be honest. And I think that's because it's from the pitch. And I know at times we've got to give the players something, but they've also got to give us a bit of something to cheer about and get us on the edge of our seats. And they're just not doing that at the minute.
It's a good point, actually. I just want to touch on the football. You mentioned it's been boring. My nephews are young, and I mention them quite often. I'm really trying to get them into Sheffield United, and they've actually said to me they're really bored watching the Blades, and it properly breaks my heart, because I'm sure for us growing up, watching Sheffield United was, for me on a Saturday, it was the thing I looked forward to the most right throughout the week, because it was always exciting.
Yeah, that's it. And like for me, I can't remember going to a game, maybe apart from Peterborough, where I've actually come away from the game and enjoyed it. And like I say, it's sad to see, because you look forward to it all week. You think, are we going to turn a leaf? And we just don't. You look at the 3 home wins we've had this season. Peterborough, Derby, Stoke, I believe they're the only ones. Please feel free to tell me if not. But I think Peterborough are a side that came just gun-ho, didn't really have any tactics, and we blew them apart. Derby, I thought we were lucky to get the win, obviously the penalty, and the Stoke win was a good win. Other than that, teams who have a low block, come and sit in and say, right, come and break us down. We'll take a point at Bramall Lane. Come and break us down. We struggle against it. I think that's what Blackpool did. If we can get a chance on the counter, we'll go and score. Blackpool did it. Preston did it. Millwall did it. So I think we are struggling to break teams down, particularly at home, because it's too, side to side, back to Olsen, side to side, and then when it does go into the strikers, it seems to be we're losing it. And take case in point on Saturday, I think when we had the ball, it must have been a minute, 2 minutes before we had the ball up on the box. Blackburn get the ball, bang. I'm not saying they were direct, but I bet it was 10 seconds every attack before they were on the edge of our box, having a shot or creating something and just worrying our defence.
Yeah, Kieran, do you think these are not my words? I'm just asking you a question here. Do you think that SLAV is tactically inept?
I think tactically inept would be harsh, but I have written down here. I think tactically in games at times it's just not right. I think I've heard the word stubborn quite a bit. I think that's right. I think to be a good manager, you've got to be able to adapt to what you've got. And I know you need help from the board level and you need to bring your own players in. I'm going to say his name, but Mr. Chris Wilder, all right? I know some fans won't like me mentioning him and bringing him up. He didn't come into Bramall Lane with the idea of a back three. He played a 4-2-3-1, I believe, with Duffy out wide. He saw it wasn't working for 4 or 5 games, and he adapted and he changed and he found something that worked. Jokanovic just seems to want to go with this certain style, even though we haven't got the players to play it. And you mentioned tactics in games. Barnsley, he said after the game, "I'm not this manager that's going to sit on a lead and defend it. I'm going to attack to go and get 4 and 5." Well, that nearly cost us that day. That nearly cost us 2 points. For me, you've got to see things in game and manage the game better and bring Basham on at 3-0 or 3-1 just to manage the game better. I don't think he's tactically inept, but I just think at times, I know Al, you mentioned about Ndai, that is baffling to me that he's been on the bench for the last few games.
Well, Kieran, can I just bring up a point that we know that Slavisa Jokanovic has played 3 at the back. I mean, not just with Sheffield United, but when he was with Watford, not all the time, but he's played that and at other clubs in the past. We also know he's had great success with 4 defenders. The club that we have at the moment is built for a back 3 for the past few years under Wilder. This is throughout the setup from youth, under 23s to first team. I don't think anyone should be too surprised that this change in style is going to take time, maybe more than 1 season. Do you not think it's fair, therefore, to give him more than 1 season?
Yeah, maybe so, and I see your point. And like you mentioned there, us football fans are fickle, but do you get time in football anymore? It's the one thing managers don't get. And I like I say, I fully appreciate you wanting to get, fans want to give him more time, and I hope I can come on in a year's time and say I was totally wrong. But I just do not see, for some reason, Slavisa Jokanovic and Sheffield United being a fit. It's just a little bugbear in my mind, whether I could be totally wrong, and like I say, I hope I am. It's just something's not quite clicking, and I'm not seeing. I don't mind going to Blackburn on Saturday and losing if I can see something on the pitch, if I can see the idea there. Yeah, we look like we're gaining in certain areas, but there was just nothing. And that's all season, pretty much barring the odd 1 or 2 games.
It's really interesting points. Kieran, thank you. I really appreciate you joining us. Great insight, great thoughts. You are going to now hear the thoughts of Barnsie. Barnsie, thank you for being here with us. How are you doing?
Yes, good, thank you. Yeah, sorry, I was a bit late, so I may have missed some of the points made earlier, but I just.
It's just Adam waffling on. You didn't miss anything. So Slav in or Slav out?
I'm Slav out, unfortunately. I'm one of those crew.
You'll break it down for us.
There's some things, and I know I saw some of those points which I agree with as well, but there's some things that really, really worry me, like quite obvious things. Like if we go back to the Birmingham game, I think everybody in the crowd could see that their only way of scoring would be they were launching it into the box from the halfway line, weren't they? Throw-ins, and it just seemed obvious that was where the goal was coming from. And I think maybe 15 minutes to go, it was crying out for Basham to come on or McBurney to come on. And I remember he just swapped Norwood for Hurricane or something. And McBurney was obviously left on the bench. And then obviously we know what happened next. And I think 20-odd thousand Sheffield United fans could have figured out what was coming. And he couldn't. And then I can't remember the game now. He started Hurricane instead of Norwood. But he just didn't seem to tell Hurricane to go get the ball off the back four. So there was just a huge gap in front of the back four, and Egan got the ball, no idea what to do with it, launched it long, we lost the ball, and then he got dragged off after about 20 minutes, didn't he? Which it just seems like quite basic things. And I know some people, I see so many people say it's the players, it's the players, it's the players. But I think if you look at the teams above us in the league, who wouldn't want Egan and Davies and Norwood and Gibbs-White and McBurney and Brewster? Who wouldn't have them? And I don't think many clubs above us wouldn't have them. They would have them because they're kind of proven at this level. So you look to what the problem is, and what the problem has got to come from the management, because either they're not playing the right system, or the players aren't motivated. And from Saturday, it looked like both. And so the problem's got to, and like the last guy said, it just doesn't seem like the right fit. And we've been there. I'm old enough to see where you just get the feeling of, it's just going wrong. And I'm not saying changing the manager will fix it, but other clubs just seem to, you know what I mean? It seems to be heading in the way of it's going wrong. And it just doesn't, I can't remember a time of it turning round and becoming positive. Like under Adkins, you just had a feeling it isn't going to turn round, it isn't going to get positive. And I've got the same kind of feeling.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying earlier about kind of tactics and stuff like that, this might be a loaded question, what I'm going to ask you right now, but it just makes me wonder, what do they actually do in training and what are they working on? Because when we watched United under Wilder, you knew exactly what they were going to do. They were going to play in them little triangles, wide overloads, overlapping centre-backs, cutting the ball back, trying to score goals that way. How are we playing, from watching Sheffield United this season, how do we attack?
I don't think anybody knows, and I think that's the problem. I think a decent manager gives the player a job and makes sure that those players can do that job. And if they all do it, your team can kind of it beats the teams. Do you know what I mean? It should be making the players better than the sum of the parts, shouldn't it? And if it's not doing that because the players don't know the job, do you know what I mean? I think I look back at some of the Asaba points that he made from the commentary, and they were really good points that he made about these 11 players should be getting more out of it. And I don't know where the buck stops if it's not from Slav, because like you say, I'm still, well, how many games in are we? And I still don't really know what we're meant to be doing, because half the time it's so pedestrian that we let championship sides are hard working, aren't they? They get back and they defend, and they just sort of, we set up that slow that it takes us forever to create half a chance, where other teams, one long boot up field and they've scored. And I don't want us to go to long ball, but I expect the players to know what they're doing. I expect a bit of a pace about it, a bit of urgency. And I don't really know where else it comes from. Like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, do you think anyone replacing Wilder would find it difficult to win over everyone, both at the club and the fans? I mean, we saw last season that whilst the Wilder style worked very well previously, when we lost one key cog in the machine, Jack O'Connell, it all fell apart. And now we have a new man at the helm, and it could be too early to judge him because these aren't Slavisa's permanent signings. These aren't his players yet.
I do see the side, and I genuinely wanted him charged. And I have been looking at his record a bit today, and I know he didn't. He got Watford promoted and didn't manage him in the Premier League, did he? And then he got Fulham promoted, and again, I think they lost 7 in a row, and then he got sacked. And and I'd look back at that. I might be making excuses here, but I think I could have got that Fulham squad promoted if I'm honest. It was a pretty good squad, wasn't it?
Yeah, are you hoping that we might see Ryan Sessegnon this season on loan? Because I was just thinking about that in January.
He's not doing much at the minute, I don't think, is he? But I think that's maybe one of the other points I was going to make is I'm not sure we've got the finances to replace 11 players or however many people think we should get rid of.
Well, have we even got the finances to get rid of Slavisa Jokanovic?
It's probably cheaper than replacing 18 players.
I hear what you're saying. Point. And also, lots of people have said in the chat, you're saying you want Slav out. Who would replace him? Would you say you'd get Heckingbottom back? Is that where you're going with that?
I think you'd have to do it as an interim. I think, if I'm honest, it'd have to be now while there was an international break and a bit of time to do it. I think somebody else mentioned, I quite like Warren. I like him as a guy. I like him as a motivator, and he does wonders. Yeah, and he does wonders on a shoestring, doesn't he? Which the kind of fit at the club at the minute is to get the most out of the players. I think the ability is there, and I disagree with a lot of fans who say there isn't the ability there. Like I've said before, I think a lot of the Championship squads would take our players and they'd do all right. And I think like McBurney and Brewster up front, I think would do all right.
It's interesting.
Do you think it's worth bringing Ewan in and having an
bring him in, Nick. Bring him in. This is our final guest.
Ewan. Evening, gents.
Evening, mate. How you doing?
Doesn't seem right, sort of chanting Ewan, and you're looking so studious there, quite literally in your studio.
Well, it's the home office. I'm going to make it look at least a little bit presentable. So,
have you been working on?
More than my office, anyway.
Yeah, mine too. Have you been working on your thoughts for this fans forum? Ewan, are you Slav in or Slav out, my friend?
I've been debating this. My heart probably says, he should go, but then my head says to sort of keep him. And I can't. I think I'm leaning more towards Slav in, to be honest.
There you go. So give us some opinions. I know you've come loaded with stats, and I can see them there right in front of you.
No, I'm so ill prepared for this. I've had a busy day. I've just been sort of scrubbing down what other people have said, really, which was interesting. I think some of the points people mentioned were about lack of leadership, lack of self-belief. I think that's been a massive problem in terms of on the pitch. I think some of my thoughts were that I think what we did well over the last few seasons, save for the relegation season, was tinkering with the spine. So, you look at your spine of your team in terms of your, who that main central defender is, who the main central midfielder is, your main man up top is. And I think Wilder sort of tinkered with that slightly over the seasons, but the one season when he didn't really, and all those sort of hardcore collective, of the old guard got these, great long contracts. At that time, you'd have said they deserved them, but now it's kind of been counterintuitive. So it's a bit. I think that's where it started to go. It started to unravel a little bit in that we didn't really evolve the spine of the team, and I think it's starting to show now.
What do you think? What do you think to that, Barnsie? What do you think to what Ewan's saying?
Yeah, I guess. I think everybody when we got Slav, I think everybody was expecting us to be a bit leaky at the back, weren't they? I thought that was kind of what we expected. I kind of didn't expect to just not. Do you know what I mean? I thought I would be getting really fast-paced, aggressive football, which is kind of what he said. And I'm a bit. Well, obviously, we're not seeing it, but I'm also worried that it won't change in January because I don't think we've got the ability to do that. And unfortunately, on the players that we have got that are sellable, we're not going to make the return, are we? Because we're not going to get 20 million for Brewster. We're not going to get 20 million for McBurney. The sellable assets are going to be sellable at a big loss, which is obviously a problem.
Well, this is all just now very depressing. We need to finish on a high, Nick, don't we? Barnsie, though, you speak very well. I don't necessarily agree in the long term with your strategy of Slav out, but you do make some excellent points. And I'm sure you've obviously got a rebuttal for what you've just heard.
I think what's been interesting is we've been a team that have been able to keep out goals. Even when we got relegated, we were always losing by the odd goal. We could hang in a game, whereas now we can't. We've kind of gone. We've flipped to the side. I know people are saying it's boring football, it's tippy tappy, get it forward. We've kind of reversed. We are creating chances. It's for whatever reason not going in, but we just can't keep in games. And you just know when it hits 60, 70 minutes, we're either 0-0 or 1-0 up. You just think, oh yeah, if they just get that one chance, because you just know our defence is vulnerable at the minute. And you do have to question what's going on the training pitch in terms of defensive shape. Who's leading that back line? Who's commanding who to go where? And for me, that's a bit of a big concern, because attacking wise, the hardest thing in football, as I see it, is creating and scoring goals. And you can coach and manage a team to defend quite well. And we just seem to have lost that the last few months. And I don't know what SLAV does from there.
We knew when he came in, didn't we, Nick? Defence was not going to be the strong point of a 𝐍𝐸𝐵𝐍𝐸 system, even when we remember that famous 5-4 at beautiful downtown Bramall Lane. We were all entertained that night, but I think a lot of us left with heart palpitations thinking, I wouldn't want to watch that every week. Well, we haven't really seen that every week. There's been that Peterborough game where you thought, oh, this is quite exciting, but we haven't really seen that again. Nick, have you got any final questions for Ewan and Barnsie before we wrap it up tonight?
No, I think we've gone through a hell of a lot of stuff tonight. Some great points. We'll probably clip some to put them on social media as well, because like I say, we've had some great guests on. You two were fantastic as well. And we're going to have to do something very, very similar. I think.
Yeah, can we give it a different title? Give it a different title next time.
No, definitely. Something as clickbaity as this will happen.
You love those clickbaity titles. Barnsie, thank you.
Thank you.
Really good to get you on. Ewan, always good to hear your thoughts. We will let you return to your studies.
I've got to see to the kids now, so yeah.
Excellent. An insight into the life of Ewan. We will get you on again, I'm sure. I will leave you with some sort of final thoughts, Nick, after we've heard yours. What have you taken away from tonight?
That SLAV should be got rid of, that he should be also staying at the lane, also that we can't afford to get rid of him. And no, there's just been so much.
I think a lot of people have said that, haven't they? We can't afford to get rid of him. I think a lot of the chat, but we need to reiterate, the reason we're doing this tonight, you might think this isn't very Sheffield United way, is these are the discussions people are having. All right. Why would we as a fan channel not have this discussion when people who already want SLAV out are already SLAV out? All right. If anything, we were hoping to maybe change a few opinions tonight. So you've got to have these discussions, and we've got to be brave as a channel, haven't we, and take a few risks and discuss the things that people don't always necessarily want to talk about.
Exactly that. And we're both in agreement that we want to see SLAV here. We want to see that football that we saw at Fulham, or when Fulham came to Bramall Lane, at least at Watford. We want to see that football at Bramall Lane. So I think we know for certain that he's not going to get sacked this season, whatever happens, because it would be so much money to get rid of him. And in all honesty, I want to see that money invested in the players rather than getting rid of a manager.
But Nick,
been there and done that.
We've got now a squad that's like 23 registered players. So we've got to get players out as importantly now as players in. And, Barnsie made a good point that a lot of those players aren't going to be as attractive as they were. We laughed and said, 10 million for Baldock Celtic, jog on. I think that offer wouldn't come back in now.
But it's not even just about the offers, Hal. It's about how much they're being paid. And because we had that massive jump from League One to the Premier League to 9th, they all got new contracts. They're all getting paid.
And they deserved them.
Yeah, they did. But they've fallen off a cliff massively.
Is there something to be said for the fact that when you get offered in any job, when you get offered a lot more money, part of you can coast a little bit.
Yeah, the desire kind of goes, doesn't it? It's
and a lot of these players,
young Premier League players, when they come through at an Arsenal and they're getting paid 20 grand a week and they're like 18 years old, You're almost like, oh, I can get that for the rest of my career, and I don't need any more. I'll just.
A lot of these were players that were trying to prove themselves because they'd come from the lower leagues. Well,
they
proven
did prove themselves. Yeah, they proved themselves massively. They went toe to toe with some of the best players in the Premier League. Yeah, maybe we didn't really get close to Liverpool and Man City, but they were the only two teams that I think that we didn't get anywhere near in that first season. I thought
performance pay, right? Performance pay as you play. Moose would not be able to have that orange Lamborghini, but some interesting thoughts. If Slav will walk is a question that some people have brought up in the chat. Let's just sort of close on that. Do you think there's any chance that he would get fed up? He might have wanted director of football. He hasn't been given a director of football. He complained about transfers before the transfer window was closed. We know that didn't go down well with senior management. So do you think there's a chance that he could get fed up and feel he doesn't have the backing?
Absolutely. I think that's a worry for me, actually. I know we wouldn't then have to pay him off, which is obviously a big thing. If we were in the relegation zone, then you would think, do we have to act? Do we have to get rid of him? And it would be a hell of a lot of money. But Slav, for me, is a manager that's made a hell of a lot of money in his career. I don't think he needs this money. He's taken Watford up. He's taken Fulham up. We all know that Watford and Fulham have got a bit of money. And then he went to Qatar. And you know how much money is in Qatar. So I think that he doesn't need any more money. And if he seems like one of these blokes that if he's not happy, then he would walk and he would be fine with it. He's a strong-willed, some may say stubborn man, that if he's not happy with what's been offered to him, he could walk. He could easily walk.
I think that's a great point. I mean, it's possible it's not about systems, the manager, who plays where. The current issues at our beloved club, some have said tonight, seem to be more deep-seated. There's a bit of a negativity about Bramall Lane that certainly wasn't there before. There's infighting now we're seeing amongst the fans on the terraces. That's horrible to see. There's a losing culture now for over 18 months with the players. I firmly believe that our board wants success. I believe they are well-intentioned. I also believe that they'll be the first to stick their hands up and say, mistakes have been made in the last few years, both upstairs at board level with management, with players, recruitment. Arguably, as importantly, as I already mentioned, player sales. Some players are living off past reputation, have come to the end of their natural cycle with the club. I think we need to make it about football again. We need to make it about Sheffield United again, have genuine football people, hands-on at Bramall Lane. And if Slavisa wants a director of football, I say give him a director of football and where possible, back him in the transfer market. And I think with backing next season, Sheffield United will be a promotion contender.
I think you're absolutely right. This could be a dress rehearsal for next season. Let's hope it is anyway, guys. So I think we're going to leave it there, Hal. Thank you very much for being here as always. You've been fantastic and we've heard some great things from some big fans.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you very much. And we will see you next time, guys.